Random House Audio presents Don't Know Much About Geography, Everything You Need to Know About the World But Never Learned, by Kenneth C. Davis. Read for you by Kenneth C. Davis, Joe Ochman, Paul Boehmer, Mark Bramhall, Zach Mclarty, and Adenrele Ojo.
This is the author, Kenneth C. Davis, and this is the preface to the revised edition of Don't Know Much About Geography. Okay, they always tell you to lead with the headline, so here goes. Breaking news, they've added an ocean. Say what? That's right, there are 5 oceans now, where there used to be only 4. Or at least, so says the IHO. No, not IHOP. The International Hydrographic Organization is a multinational, intergovernmental group that oversees issues of navigation and charting and other oceanic matters. Based in Monaco, I know, tough job, but somebody's got to do it, the IHO decided a few years ago that there is a Southern Ocean, or, as some call it, an Antarctic Ocean. As listeners of the original audio would know, this is not a brand new idea. I discussed the subject of the Southern Ocean in the first edition, but now it's more official. This neo-ocean extends up from Antarctica and would count as the world's 4th largest ocean, if it counted. This is in addition to the 4 we were supposed to learn back in 5th grade. The Pacific, Atlantic, Indian, and Arctic in size order, just in case you were absent or just bored that day. Now, you may have also heard that Pluto was downgraded from planetary to dwarf planet status. There's still some dispute about that one, too, but it did get plenty of media attention. But coming up with a new ocean? You would think that that would have made the front pages. But this Earth, or ocean-shaking news, hasn't exactly taken the world by storm. Many people and reference books, including the Time Almanac 2012, do not seem to know about this extra ocean, or not everyone recognizes its existence. The Rodney Dangerfield of oceans, it gets no respect. It must also be said that there is, in fact, only one ocean, the great single body of interconnected water that covers much of the Earth's surface and is only occasionally broken up by the little plots of land called continents and islands. And that is one reason why geography can be so confusing, as I wrote in this audio when it was originally released. Geography, from the Greek meaning to describe the earth, is sometimes as much art as science, and some terms are less easily defined. Seas can be lakes, jungles can be rainforests, and continents can be islands. In the 2 decades since this audio was first produced, the Earth hasn't changed much. Oh, sure, along with that new ocean, we've added millions of people to the head count, with billions more expected to arrive on board Spaceship Earth over the next few decades. Some of the borders have changed, countries have broken apart like Czechoslovakia, which peacefully split into the Czech Republic and Slovakia in January 1993. Earthquakes, volcanoes, floods, and erosion continue to reshape the Earth's features, and the global temperature continues to climb. When this audio was first released, America had just ended a war against Iraq led by President Bush. Now, in 2012, America has just ended a war against Iraq begun by President Bush. Of course, different wars, different Presidents Bush, and very different outcomes. So, while some things stay the same, there have been enormous changes in the world in 20 years, and this audio has been updated and revised with new questions to reflect these essential changes. The role of the Internet and other technology in transforming global life. What was the Arab Spring? The rise of China, India, and other former developing nations as world economic powers amid the globalization of commerce. What can you build with bricks? Does the World Bank have ATMs? The question of sustainability in a world that is growing, as author Thomas Friedman succinctly put it, hot, flat, and crowded. And the debate over climate change and evolutionary science and the related question of how science has become a partisan political issue, particularly in the United States. Is all the talk of global warming just a lot of hot air? As I said in the original introduction to this audio, geography is not just about memorizing place names and state capitals or knowing how to read maps. It is about understanding our place in the world and who our neighbors are. It is about understanding the links between places and events. My goal was to get people to think geographically, to look at the world with the great sense of curiosity that some of the ancient thinkers possessed, and attempt to figure out the world. That was the beginning of science, which raises the most serious point of this audio. During the past 20 years, America has witnessed a concerted assault on science. While some of those attacks come from the fact that we learn new things about medicine, space, and biology all the time, and yes, we know that science and scientists can be wrong, much of the assault has come from people with very specific agendas. Those agendas can be motivated by profit, political ideology, religious belief, or faith in what has been called junk science. But the serious threat to good science, and more importantly, science education, is a dangerous thing, especially in a world that will increasingly demand complex technological and scientific answers to its pantheon of problems. I have tried to address some of these hot-button issues, especially climate change and evolution, very directly. As I write this, a 2012 Gallup survey showed that 46% of Americans believe in the creationist view that God created humans in their present form at some time within the last 10,000 years. That belief, largely a matter of faith among some Christians, has been aggressively introduced into American public education in recent years. Once known as creationism, this idea was repackaged as intelligent design, or ID, an attempt to put very old wine into a new bottle. In a closely watched court case in Pennsylvania, the intelligent design movement made a thinly veiled attempt to question all of evolutionary biology by introducing doubt over relatively small and unresolved issues. This was an end-run approach to introduce the biblical view of creation, previously ruled unconstitutional by the Supreme Court, into science classes. The strategy was completely rejected in December 2005 by U.S. District Judge John E. Jones III, who wrote in his ruling, "We find that ID, intelligent design, is not science and cannot be adjudged a valid, accepted scientific theory as it has failed to publish in peer-reviewed journals, engage in research and testing, and gain acceptance in the scientific community. ID, as noted, is grounded in theology, not science." Accepting for the sake of argument its proponents' as well as defendants' argument that to introduce ID to students will encourage critical thinking, it still has utterly no place in a science curriculum. End quote. That ruling by a Republican administration-appointed judge dismantled the ID argument, yet the issue and the fundamental belief attacking evolutionary science behind it has not gone away. It is my hope that this audio program will shed more light than heat about geography and its wonders. Looking back at the changes over the past 2 decades, both historically and technologically, it is difficult to imagine writing about the world 20 years from now. But geography helps by showing us where we have been and maybe where we are going. Now, about those oceans. When the question, how many oceans are there, comes up, and the multiple choice answers are A1, B4, C5, D, all of the above, now you know. Go with D. Introduction. How come the Nile River flows up? Way back in elementary school, I had a social studies teacher I'll call Mrs. McNally. One day,
Sample complete. Ready to continue?